Good morning and welcome to this week's IGTV. Today I'm talking about I'll never be enough. Teenagers who either feel that there's no point in trying because they'll never be enough, or are so hard on themselves and literally will drive themselves to the bone in order to accomplish some level of perfection that is, quite frankly, impossible. If your teenager is, sorry, I hit my camera there. If your teenager is, okay, we're going to stop touching the camera now. If your teenager is kind of struggling with this, either this I'll never be enough or this whole perfection thing, then today is probably going to be something that you are going to dig into. My name is Allie Payne. I'm a certified life coach, certified relationship systems coach. I have been working with parents of teens for the last 16 years to help them end the painful disconnection, stressful silences, emotional blow-ups, disconnection, to build relationships on health, on trust and respect. Yes, your daughter has shut down and won't try anymore. Well, then this is for you. So if you're joining me on Instagram, I'd love a follow. If you're on YouTube, I'd love a subscribe button. If you can tap that. This is going to be a little different than some of my previous posts because this is insight that I've literally had yesterday ago. It's a yesterday ago insight about my own life. So many of you are familiar with my story, but I'm going to just dabble in it a little bit because here's the thing. When I tell my story, I think it's really easy. This is really hard for me to say, okay? It's really easy for parents to hear my story and say, well, I don't do that. I mean, can't imagine that, Allie. I do not treat my child that way. And I'm not saying that you do. But what I am saying is this. Are you willing to be curious? Are you willing to be curious for the sake of your teen and their mental health and your relationship with them? Are you willing to be curious? That's all I'm asking. So if we can venture in today by willing to be curious, that would be good. Okay, so part of this I'll never be enough thing, okay, part of this stems from the school system as a whole, okay? The school system as a whole that is entirely based on negative reinforcement. So you either keep up with what other people deem as important and expectations and do things in the way that they want, or you get on the radar, which teenagers hate. You get noticed for stuff you don't want to be noticed for. And you have to get detention, or the teacher calls your parents, or you're not called out if you're doing amazing per se. Like you might get awards at the end of the year, or you might get scholarships at the end of some 5-year, marathon. But for the most part, it's a keep up or get called out. That's kind of how school rolls, okay? And so for teenagers, that's literally like social suicide. Oh crap, I just spilt my whole drink all over the place. Good for me. Okay, I'm gonna clean that up later. All right, maybe no more swooshing my drink. So for teenagers, being called out like that is horrifying because their stage of their brain is that the adolescent brain, their self-confidence drops up to 30%. So they're already wildly insecure. And then they're in a school environment that does not, and this is not against teachers, okay? I'm pro-teacher. Teachers are burnt out. Teachers are expected to do more and more. Our education system is broken. We're not serving our teachers and we're not serving our students. It's broken, okay? So for adolescents, when they're called out because they aren't getting it right or they're not measuring up in some way, what that ends up doing is reinforcing that they're a failure, okay? It ends up reinforcing already existing, the physiology, natural physiology in their brain of insecurity is when they get called out because they're failing, and all teens want is anonymity. For in the early stages of adolescence, what they want is to blend in because that's safe. That is pack thinking that keeps them, literally, this is why peer pressure works. It keeps them safe from criticism and judgment. Except, what if they can't fit in at school via the education system, as it may be wherever you are? And so now they're standing out in a way where they are getting that negative reinforcement. They're getting emails home from the teacher because they're not completing assignments. They failed some assignments. They don't get that particular content. It's not their favorite subject. They don't get along with the teacher, whatever, you name all of the things, right? So what kids who don't conform to the establishment, to the education institute, kids who don't conform to that and their brains are not wired that way, they don't learn that way, what they learn is they're a failure. What they learn is, I'll never be enough. Like, I'll never be enough, because all they are told is what they're not doing right. They're told they're not meeting someone else's expectations, not being the way that they need to be, not saying what they need to say, not regurgitating. Like, school basically is like shove the information down their throat, and then they, on command, need to be able to spit it back out in a way that the teacher or that education system or that school deems valuable. And I know we're trying to move more to application of knowledge, and we really are. I think as an education system, we're trying to move more. It's a pressure cooker. We're trying to move more to helping kids do critical thinking and stuff like that. I think we've made progress there. But we're trying to make progress to helping kids become critical thinkers and application of knowledge in a system that is still based on negative reinforcement. You get that? You see the problem with that. The system is still not helpful. So here's the insight that I had yesterday ago that I wanted to share with you. And because I just ran my 5 days to a better relationship with your teen. And of course, one of the biggest thing that comes up is school and, or technology or curfews. Or like lying. Like, it's the same three things all the time. Thousands of parents, and it all comes down to this. So this is an insight that I wanted to share with you. So the statistic, apparently, our hyper obsessiveness with school and performance began in the early 80s when the United States government, now I live in Canada, but I'm going to tell you for free, it happens in Canada too. When the United States government did a nationwide study on schooling and how they were doing on schooling and grading relative to what was going on in Asian countries, China, Japan, etc. And what they noticed is that how far behind the American school system was, for whatever reason, how far behind they were relative to what Asian countries were doing. Now, let's not say that what Asian countries were doing was super healthy either. Okay. And so what happened, this was 1983, is that there became like a nationwide obsession with testing and standardized testing and grading, and kids needed to know more and they needed to regurgitate better so they could like succeed on the global economic scale, of getting great jobs and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So this whole performance bullshit, performance-based cultures, performance parenting, it was reinforced and amped up 1,000 notches in the early 80s. If that's when you were born or raised, it's all making sense now, right? So even in Canada, it was this obsession. Canadian schools did it too. With standardized testing and how are we doing, and it just became this constant measurement of morality. became a measurement of morality, not only for you as a parent, if your child could succeed within this newer, higher level of pressure cooker to perform in a way that someone else deemed valuable, but it made your child a better person. That was certainly my experience. Now, I was very fortunate. I was a highly intelligent child, even though I have ADHD. I was smart enough, I could quickly memorize and regurgitate the work to the degree I was actually marking other students' work. Not appropriate, by the way. And helping other students in class. Because I could understand how their brains were working, so I could explain it to them in a way the teacher didn't get. But I understood what the teacher was saying and I could quickly do it. So I became like this student teacher in the classroom. Terrible idea, by the way. Had no friends. Anyway, okay, so what ends up happening for kids who have learning challenges, might not be ADHD, but not everyone learns by reading or hearing. I am a visual spatial learner. I need to be in a large room. I need to see what other people are saying. I need to hear their questions. I pick up on, I learn best in a group. I don't learn alone. Like, I did terrible in the pandemic. And even before that, I have spent thousands of dollars on courses that are on online learning on how to run a business and how to, do what I do. I suck at them. I will not sit at home and watch videos. Like, I already know I'm that person. I just won't. So I don't spend the money on it. I pay the money for in-person because it's how I learn. So we've got learning styles that don't all work for the school system. We have learning challenges like ADHD, which so many kids are still falling under the radar and not being noticed. They're being, I'm going to stop swearing, Allie. They're being shamed because they are lazy, irresponsible, and they just procrastinate. Were any of you called that when you were young? Well, if you just wouldn't procrastinate so much, this wouldn't be a problem. Anybody else? I was constantly told I was a car driving in third gear, never living up to my potential. Super motivating. Never living up to my potential. That is one of the most common things to be told when you have ADHD. And then we have the kids who are going and doing lots of other, like, video games and all the other things because ADHD requires that level of dopamine to even feel normal. So anyway, we have more children that are in negative reinforcement environments who truly believe they are never going to be enough. And as parents, we have subscribed to this bullshit. Okay, I am going to swear. We've subscribed to this because it's likely how we were raised and what we have been taught is moral and right. So I'm saying we, okay, are passing this down to our kids such that if they can't perform in these environments, they can't make things right, they can't perform and get grades and please their teachers, that they are simply not enough. And again, it is reinforced at home with either, goes both ways. Negative reinforcement isn't just telling your child to stop being lazy, stop being irresponsible, and stop procrastinating. Okay? Those are negative messages. Those are not messages that build connection. Those are not messages that help to understand what's going on for them. Is there something in the way? It doesn't create any compassion for the teen brain, the adolescent brain development, none of that. Zero. There's also a massive lack of positive reinforcement. A massive lack of positive reinforcement. Again, I just did my 5-day challenge, 5 days to a better relationship with your teen, and this came up huge all the time. That praise is something that, because of this effed up performance-based environment, unless our child performs at a level that we deem valuable or above normal, or I don't know, whatever that stupid standard is, we don't praise them. So if they're just doing their best, we don't praise for that. No. Why would you just praise for them doing their best? I mean, did you know that the studied and proven ratio for positive or affirming communication to negative or corrective communication is 3-to-1 at minimum? Dr. John Gottman at the Gottman Institute, that's been studied and proven for decades. Yet this whole performance-based culture has us only praise or affirm our teen if they are performing within the institution and the expectations that you learned were moral and good and right. It's not a wonder our teens think they'll never be enough. That they can't do anything right. Because when they don't work within the set parameters of the institution, or what you and I were raised with, this hyper obsessiveness on performance as if it is a life or death freaking thing, they don't get praise. And if in a vacuum, and this has also been proven in orphanages, and children who were raised outside of their family of origin for whatever reason, foster care, they are often corrected more than they are affirmed and praised, and that in itself is negative reinforcement because they don't hear positive affirmation. Therefore, they truly believe they will never be enough. Now, here's the last part I'm going to say about this. This is what I learned. This is how I was raised. There was no positive reinforcement. It was just expected that I be smart and compliant and behave and get good grades. That was expected. So there was literally not one single breadcrumb of positive affirmation around my effort. The fact that I taught other kids in my class, that I helped other kids understand work that they couldn't, which, by the way, is a trait that I am delighted my youngest son has, and he was awarded a number of leadership awards because he loved helping other kids understand what they found challenging and he did not. I love that about him. In an environment that lacks positive affirmation, a child will believe they are never enough. In an environment where a teenager or a child is constantly told they're not getting it right, they're not doing it right, they're being lazy, irresponsible, they're not prioritizing their time right, if they just put in more effort, it would be easier. All of these very shaming messages, which you were likely raised in, that started again statistically in the early 80s and have only gotten far worse since then. To avoid a form of shame yourself, parent shaming, because when your child does well, you also escape the morality police of schools and administration sending you emails saying you're obviously failing as a parent. And that, if you were just a better parent and you would pick it up a little bit on the discipline, your child wouldn't be having this issue. And because the school does not know how to support your child, so they feel frustrated and out of control. Ooh, they are lacking control over your child, which pushes all of their buttons. They are sending you shamey schmamey messages to home about how you should just control them. What the ever-loving crap is that? And then we wonder why teens feel like they'll never be enough. So I'm going to project this out about, say, 40 years for you, okay? I'm going to project this out about 40 years and let you know what happens. I was barely praised for perfect And when I wasn't, I got those messages. I got the messages that I wasn't trying hard enough. I didn't prioritize. And if I had just, well, like, what was I even thinking? Like, get over yourself. Just try. It's not that hard. All of these messages, okay? What I learned is a version of perfectionism just to earn a breadcrumb of some kind of positive affirmation. Something, just to be good enough for something. Now, I will say this. I did win awards at school. I won athletic awards. I won academic awards. But it was like never enough, because by the time I was a teenager, it was already insatiable. I just, could somebody just say something kind and nice to me? Please? Somebody? It's also why I was so fraught and free picking for the toxic relationships. Because charismatic, toxic people saw the vulnerability, and all they had to do was say a couple nice things to me. Oh, you're pretty. I like your hair. You know, and I was in. I was in so fast, I was like Velcro. It was like a magnet. Because I had no other tap, even at a drip, that was coming out with any kind of positive affirmation about who I was and the things I valued and how I did life. So I chased after and glommed onto really toxic people who would give me even slivers of that, whilst also treating me horrifically. So, eating disorder, because I wanted to just be more perfect, 14 years. Attracting toxic, negative relationships, because I was just desperate for some kind of positive attention. And if I wasn't getting it home, I can tell you for free, I was going to go get it outside of the home. Why? Because that is a normal function of development of the adolescent brain, that they move from seeking love and approval from family, that's bucket number 1, friends, bucket number 2, to romantic relationships, bucket number 3. So I did. And here's what ended up happening. I unknowingly created a belief that life is a race. Life is a race, period. Okay? Now, follow me for a sec. Life is a race. And if I'm not winning, I'm not even close to enough. But if I'm losing, which is anything short of not winning, okay, are we clear? If I'm not winning, then I'm losing. Then I suck. I'm a failure. I'm not enough. Consistently turning those external messages, those voices, both overt and covert in my childhood, inward, treating myself the same I was taught was normal. This is exactly how our teens are feeling today. That is why I will continue to advocate for them and to help gorgeous, loving, courageous parents like you to see them and find them and connect with them, because I believe in you and I know it can be done. So when I was raised believing life was a race and winning was the only option, then I also believe there's losing. I am 51 years old, and I just realized this yesterday. I have said for decades, I don't want to live this way. I'm tired of, I feel like I somehow suck the joy out of every moment. I'm sucking the joy out of every, because I go to bed at night and I'm always like, oh, like I'm still not there. I'm still not there. Fuck it, where? Excuse me. Like where? I'm still not where? I'm still not there. I have gorgeous children who are the most incredible human beings. I live in an amazing house that we spent 6 years renovating. I've had an amazing life, but I'm still not there. I'm still not there. I'm not getting there. It's not enough. I'm not getting there. It's not enough. Where do you think all that was set up? Do you think I just decided that one day? Do you think I just decided I just wasn't enough one day? Hell no. Years of reinforcement, of this notion that life is a race and you're either winning it or you are a serious failure and you're not enough. Years. So what I realized last night after, again, getting to a very, it's why I haven't been posting a lot lately, getting to a very hard time in my life where I'm having panic attacks every night. I'm literally so downtrodden and exhausted my whole life. I have had adrenal fatigue 3 times. I've had health issues because I'm so exhausted all the time. Why? Because that little part of me is still trying to win the race. I'm just trying to win and not feel like a failure every single day. So here, my insight is this. What if there's nothing to win? What if there is nothing to win? What if your teen doesn't need to win your love and approval? What if they just had it? What if they just knew they were loved for who they were in their struggles? And if you're watching this thinking, oh, you're one of those people who's condoning being a snowflake, and so I just let them fail and whatever, okay, then you haven't listened to enough of my videos, so go back and binge watch a few. I'm not saying you don't have boundaries. I'm not saying you don't encourage them to find success on their terms. I'm saying exactly that. Help them find success on their terms and be the person who is that positive source of affirmation for them so they don't have to go out and find it for themselves, and better yet, get to 51 and figure out, holy shit, I've never been that for myself. And if there's nothing to win, it's not like, oh, I'll never win. That's not what I mean. It's not like I'll never win. A teen recently said to you, why do I have to have goals and plans? Why isn't it okay to just live? Why isn't it? Why is life a race when we hold the mentality internally, unconsciously, consciously, or whatever, and this entire institution of education, and I'm not against education either, so don't come at me. Education and learning is vital. Does it have to be done within the current broken system? Nope, sure doesn't. If life isn't a race, then there's no winning. And if there's no winning, there's just living. Then I don't need to feel like I'm failing every day. And I don't need to kill myself trying to win something every effing day. At 51. Had this insight yesterday. That I am the one sucking the joy out of my life. I am the one who's been sucking the joy out of my life because of messages that I internalized and chose to believe without ever knowing they weren't true. So I have said my whole life, I just want to be free of this. I just want to be free of this constant striving and it's never enough. How do I get free? How do I get free? I have done decades of therapy. I have done prayer, meditation, everything. And you know what? It got me to here. So I'm grateful for every moment of it because the brain only gets what it's ready when it gets it. Okay? So if there's no race, if life isn't a race, and it's just about living and finding joy in the daily moments of experiencing cool stuff and creating things and hard learning and messy times, and it's just life, then maybe I am free. Maybe I've always been free. The reason I wanted to come on today and share this with you is because that insight that I had yesterday was the first time that I have ever thought, maybe I am free. I've always been free. I don't have to live like this. I don't need to measure up. I don't need to be winning anything because there's nothing to win. And if there's nothing to win, then I can't fail. Then I can actually, you mean I can actually be present in every day and just live? And like still have some goals and do cool stuff and help as many people as I possibly can, and I will do this until my last breath because it's the passion in my heart. But what if I did it not from the perspective of having to have the biggest business and the most followers and this much money, and I've got to help more people, and I'm not doing it right, and it's never enough? What if I didn't do that? What if I went to bed at night and said, I'm proud of myself. I am proud of me. I have ADHD and focus is really hard for me. And yesterday, I sat at my computer for totally focused, in the zone. Now, I am on supplements, so that totally helps. I sat at my computer and I worked for 5 hours straight. And I was so proud of myself. And I went to bed last night and said, I'm proud of you. And you know what the other part of my brain said? Yeah, but what did you accomplish in those 5 hours? You didn't really do anything. Of the things that you needed to get done, which off the list did you do in those 5 hours? Which did you do? That's what the other part of my brain said. Yeah. The part of my brain that's constantly in winning or losing. You're either making the grade or you're failing. And I said, shut up. I was very focused for 5 hours and I'm so proud of myself. Why is praise so foreign? Why is positive affirmation with our kids so foreign? Why do we save it up like some kind of special china that we don't take out until they get the 4-year full paid scholarship to Yale? Why? Why do we do that? And then we wonder why they become people who people always say to me, why are you so hard on yourself, Allie? You're so hard on yourself. Why can't you just be grateful for what you have? Why are you so hard on yourself? Because this has been normal for me. Because little me was raised that way to the point of extreme thing that was abusive. Again, you might be watching this and be like, I don't do that to my kids. I've never done that to my kids. Well, even if you don't, the school system is. The school system is set up based on a system of negative reinforcement. So you are either going to be the voice at home that says, yeah, grades, okay. Sure, grades might help you get to a little bit closer to where you want to go, but grades don't define you. So how someone else says you need to write an essay when you never want to do English in your life does not make you a good or bad person. Can we just say it right now? Can we stop getting our kids to try and conform to some kind of effed up mold that literally distinguishes their flame? Can we stop already? Okay, I'm not going to belabor this any further, but I wanted to share this with you because it felt life-changing for me. What if life isn't a race and there is nothing to win? Yes, thank you. You go home and you'd say, you are one of the coolest people I know. I love your humor or your weirdness or how you do this and how you do this, and I don't get it. And sometimes it might look like I'm like, what do you even mean? I just love you. What if you just said that? It doesn't mean that we don't need to teach our kid healthy habits and we don't need to have boundaries. Yes. But let's also be careful of this perfectionistic thinking about always having to win, and if you're not winning, you're losing. Because we are developing a generation of kids who are so perfection driven, like myself, that they believe if they are not performing and achieving, that they will die. That is the terror that I experienced in my brain. The emotional experience of anything falling short of perfection felt like terror. Terror. And failing was such thick shame. It was hard to breathe in. And these are the kids that we're raising. So always remember, it is a 3-to-1 minimum positive or affirming communication to negative or corrective communication. 3-to-1. And if you can't find something positive to affirm your child for, then there's a piece of work for you. This is something that I'm doing with the January 2023 cohort of the Empowered Parent Mastermind, the 8-week in-depth program I take parents through. And module 1 is about parenting and generational beliefs. And I just had a parent email me today and say, that worksheet kicked my butt. Kicked my butt, that worksheet. To be looking at my beliefs as a child, how they're showing up in my life now, and how they're showing up as I parent, and how I'm repeating what I swore I never would. And oh my gosh, she was so wonderful and vulnerable in her sharing about that. So thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to my hot mess. Thanks for always supporting me, for being kind in your comments. Again, if you're on Instagram, I'd love a follow. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe. And I will continue to be real, honest, and share what I think most needs to be said and sometimes isn't being said. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Please share positive information, positive affirmations with your teenager, because what you weren't told is that the only driving force for internal motivation is affirmation. It's not criticism or correction. That was a big fat lie. Okay. Bye, everybody.